coming to you from Jezero crater on the surface of Mars. This is Mr. C.
Well, happy Thursday. So we're looking over the horizon at Friday and the weekend. So we are getting there. And then next week I should have a set of study guides for you, and then the following Monday a second set, and then the following Monday the third set. So you should be in good shape for studying for the final. Now, you saw my greetings from the surface of Mars and Jezero crater. So beside perseverance, shout out to a student who sent me the picture and I just loved it. Now, a few things. You've got a white sheet, you've got a tan sheet. We're going to have a quiz so you can number on your white sheet to 12. I've got 12 points for you. So we'll go over that in a minute, but I want to show you this really quick. Would you say that perseverance is a simple spacecraft? Obviously not. You and I both were amazed at human engineers' ability to design its complexity so it could fly down to the surface of Mars on its own, automated. Amazing. You think that's amazing? Now, would anyone that you know say that perseverance formed itself? That all the different components of perseverance formed perseverance without any help from a human or anybody? Of course not. That's ridiculous. Well, your cells and your body is a gazillion times more complex than perseverance. But wait, human cells and the human body evolved. Does that make any sense? Nope, it absolutely does not. But when you don't want to believe in a God, you do silly. So it's not that scientists aren't smart, they're really smart, they're just in denial. Hey, what's it like on Mars? So if I actually was on the surface of Mars, I'd be in big trouble, wouldn't I? Yeah. What's it like? 95% what gas? CO2. What is that? This gas. That gas. That gas. The gas you breathe out. What's going to happen if that's all you breathe? You're going to heaven in 5 minutes. Your brain needs O2. You're going to heaven if it's deprived of O2. In 5 minutes, it's going to shut down. So, what else is it like on the surface of Mars? Really dusty. And that's why you get the tannish color of the sky on Mars. You've got that iron oxide dust in the atmosphere. And what's the temperature like? Well, it depends. During the daytime, if it's summer, it might get all the way up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So I could be wearing my Aloha shirt and that outfit if I could breathe, which I couldn't. What's it like at night? Well, because the atmosphere is so thin, a summer night, the temperature could drop 170 degrees Fahrenheit down to minus 100 Fahrenheit. That's like Antarctica. So Mars, not a hospitable place for life that's found on the Earth. Was Mars designed for life as it's found on Earth? No, nowhere was. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He made it for the life He created and put on it. He didn't make anywhere else for life. Now, He might have. Could He have put life somewhere else in the solar system? Sure. And is it a worthy goal to search around the solar system and learn as much as you can? You bet we're curious creatures. It's really fun to learn what it's like anywhere, especially like from Mars. That is so cool, so amazing. Is there life on Mars? Probably not. There could be. If there is, who made it? God. Yeah. So has there been any evidence that there's life on Mars? No. No. And we know there's water at one time. Just because there was water, does that mean there's life? No. But they're going to dig around in Jezero crater, Perseverance is, and see if there's any evidence of life that lived in the water that covered Jezero crater at one time. So we're pretty sure of that. So, Mr. C, would it be cool if they found life? You bet. Who made it? God would have made it. It couldn't have evolved. I remind you, life can evolve on Earth, so it can evolve anywhere else. Same problems everywhere else in the solar system. So, if you've got a design, you've got to have a designer. So, anyway, I bring you the greetings from Mars. So, and how fun is that, having that picture? Really fun. Okay, let's see if I can bring up some other stuff for you. Hope so. Here they come, maybe. Okay, so just a number of things. I want to read how we doing time-wise. I don't have much time because you've got to work on homework. I've got to give you a quiz, so, and some other things. I've got to tell you about Charles Lyell, so I've got to talk to you about him. Anyway, I wanted to just remind you about the constellation overhead at night. What is it? The Big Dipper. And its arcing tail or handle points off to the east to Arcturus. Follow the arc to Arcturus, the fourth brightest star, and then its two handle stars that point to the north, they point to Polaris, the pole star above the North Pole. So show all of that to your parents. The Dipper or the Big Bear, Big Dipper, like handle cup, or the Big Bear. So show that. So that's hello. We haven't looked for it before, so that's why the hello. And then goodbye in the west, high in the west, about 8:15. We've still got Orion, and its belt stars still point down to the brightest star that we can see in the night sky, Sirius. So point out Orion to a parent, write on a sheet of paper, I showed my parents Orion and the Big Dipper and Polaris and Arcturus and Sirius, and it'll be worth 15 points. So go for it. So anyway, all of that for extra credit. Okay, I want to show you this fellow. It's a guy by the name of Charles Lyell. He was born in 1797. He died in 1875. And he's best known for a 2-volume geology book that he wrote. Charles Darwin read it during his 5-year trip around the Earth on the HMS Beagle sailing ship. He was a naturalist, Darwin was. And Darwin, reading Charles Lyell's geology book, began to believe that the Earth was very, very old. And he began to develop his evolution idea, which requires a long period of time. So now we know that long period of time isn't available. So there's not enough time for evolution to happen, but Darwin didn't know that. And he thought Charles Lyell's theory was correct, except Only now we know about Charles Lyell's theory. I will say this, right around 1800, about the time Charles Lyell was born, most geologists of that time were catastrophists. They believed that the Earth had had catastrophic events occur on it, and it had. Namely, mainly, the GGF, the Great Global Flood. But as Lyell thought about the catastrophe idea, he didn't believe the Bible. He didn't believe there was a God. So he wanted to do everything in his power to convince people that Moses was wrong, who wrote Genesis. Moses. So he wanted to show Moses was wrong and the Bible wasn't the truth. So he set out to prove it. So what did he do? He wrote his 2-volume geology set. Well, what kind of data did he have? None. None. Listen to this. This is a guy by the name of Dr. Gould. Dr. Gould was a geologist at Harvard University who didn't believe in God. He was an atheist. But he didn't buy Charles Lyell's old Earth evidence. He didn't buy it. Why not? Well, here's why. Here's what Gould says about Lyell. Lyell was not the white knight of truth and geologic fieldwork, but he was a purveyor, that means a spreader, of a fascinating and particular theory that was rooted in deep time. He tried by rhetoric, that just means argument, to equate his idea about an old Earth. He tried to tie it to history, but not data. So listen to this. His version became a semi-official, kind of like component of geology that's preached in textbooks to this day, and in your textbook. It's preached in your textbooks. Every time you see that the Earth is millions of years old, that's Lyell's idea. The problem was he didn't have data, and Gould, Dr. Stephen Gould from Harvard, admitted it. So he says this: professional historians know better, of course, but their message has rarely reached working geologists. So here's what he says. Lyell wanted to overturn the Bible's idea about a very quick creation, 6-day creation, and a very rapid 1-year great global flood. So Lyell lied about it. He didn't have data that would prove that the great flood didn't happen or that the earth was created quickly. He had no data for that. He made it up. But people still believe it today and write it down in books. Wait a minute, what about the radiometric dating where you can date a rock and get millions of years? Yeah, but you can date it with another radioactive element and get a few hundred years. There actually is lava rock that's come out of a volcano that's known to be like the rock is 200 years old. It came out of that volcano 200 years ago. We know that from history. But the radiometric dating says that it's millions of years old. That's ridiculous. The radiometric old age datings are not accurate. And scientists know it, but they pretend that it works. Guess which dates they throw out? Young age for the earth. Guess which ones they accept? Old age dates. That's not scientific. It's made up. But that's what happens when you don't want to believe in a God. You make up stuff like Lyell, and you say things that aren't the truth. So it doesn't mean you're not smart. It just means you're not telling the truth. And you made up stuff that's not true. So God did create the earth. recently, a few thousand years ago, and he did cause a great flood a few thousand years ago. And the earth looks like there was a great flood recently. So don't buy it. Don't believe it. You'll see it in college. You'll even see it in high school. If you go to a secular high school, you'll read it about in your textbook. And you'll read it, and Satan wants to trick you. And he used Charles Lyell. So, but thankfully, Dr. Stephen Gould was honest about the data. So anyway, that's Lyell and Darwin and what Stephen Gould says about him. So Darwin bought it. It wasn't the truth. So let me give you your quiz. So 7th graders, here's your quiz. You've got your white sheet. You've numbered to 12. This was stuff I went over with you. Okay, here we go. Use the tan sheets as a cover sheet. Don't be looking around. Do your own work. This quiz counts. Number 1, what do you call a crack in the Earth's crust? I'm going to give you a big hint. The most famous one is the San Andreas crack. Except it's called the San Andreas. It's number 1. What do you call a crack in the Earth's crust? And they're all over the place. I show them to you when I show you the earthquake website. Number 2, what do you call the big chunks of the Earth's crust that were rapidly broken up by the GGF? And they're moving around slowly now, between 1 and maybe a dozen centimeters a year. They're not moving fast now, but at one time they did. So number 1, crack in the Earth's crust. Number 2, the big chunks of the Earth. There's about 12 to 15 of them. 3 and 4, 2 of the major earthquake zones. You read about them, I talked about them. Where are they? 3 and 4, 2 of the big zones on the Earth where you regularly have earthquakes. 3 and 4, 2 earthquake zones. Number 5, I'm rolling my eyes on this one. What was the major cause of the Earth being cracked up into the chunks that move around? What did that? Almost certainly. Number 5. Number 6. What do proteins do for you in your body? Just a general answer. What do proteins do? Number 7. There are 20 different building blocks of proteins. They're called amino or amino what? What are the building blocks of proteins? There's 20 different ones. You can use them over and over. The smallest proteins in our body have about 150 of those, and the biggest ones 34,000. Wow. You've got 20,000 different proteins. Okay, 8 and 9. 2 of the just rights about proteins. Proteins have to have just right this, just right that, just right that, just like kind of like the Earth. That's why the Earth didn't form by itself, and neither did proteins. 8 and 9, 2 just rights about proteins. Number 10. Number 10, 2 GGF as evidences. 2 Great Global Flood, Noah's Flood evidences. There's 100. I could name 100. Dr. Walt Brown has come up with, and others, from 20 to 100 evidences in the earth that there was a great global flood. Give 1 in 10 and 1 in 11. Great global flood evidences. 1 in 10, 1 in 11. Okay, and then finally number 12, what does quake mean? Earthquake. So what does earthquake mean? Just a quake. What's the meaning of that? Give a synonym for the word quake in number 12. I'll briefly go over these, then I'll give you the answer. We'll grade it, and I'll tell you about your homework. Oh, a bonus. Actually, I don't have time for it, I don't think. Oh, I'll give it a shot. For a bonus, write down 6. If you can do all of them, great, but at least 6 of the words that GOTAPI package stand for. GOTAPI. G-O-T-A-P-P-I. 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 What do those letters stand for? Give 6 out of 8, and you've got a +1 bonus. It'll take the place of one you miss. Makes up your superpower. It's a component of your superpower, that how God designed you. So quickly, write them down. At least 6. G-O-T-A-P-P-I. G-O-T-A-P-P-I. All right, here's a repeat really quick. Number 1, the word we use in geology for crack in the Earth's crust. Number 2, for the big chunks. We're right now just going over them again. 3 and 4, 2 earthquake zones. Now, you can't argue, well, I didn't have enough time to do this. You've got to know this. You've got to zip them down. Now, there's one category of students where you'd be getting some more time, and that's okay. Number 5, what causes earthquakes and the big chunks of the Earth's crust? Number 5. Number 6, what do proteins do in your body? Number 7, proteins are made of what component? 20 different amino or amino what? 8 and 9, 2 just rights about the proteins. Just write this, just write that. Short answers, 1 and 8, 1 and 9. 10 and 11, 2 great global flood evidences, science evidences for a great global flood. Number 12, a synonym for quake, as in earthquake. Okay, different pen or pencil, red if you've got it. Here are your answers. 1 point each, number right over 12 at the end. Yes, it counts. Now, I gave you plenty of time, and I went over them 3 or 4 times. So, and it's ones you've got to know. Your brain's got to give you the answer right away, or you can't go, I didn't have enough time to process. You did, if you know it. Number 1, what are the cracks in the Earth's crust called? Faults. San Andreas Fault. Number 2, the chunks of the Earth's crust. Tectonic plates. 3 and 4, earthquake zones. Ring of Fire, and out in the Atlantic Ocean, the mid-ocean rift, or the mid-ocean ridge, or the mid-ocean crack. Those 2. Ring of Fire, mid-ocean ridge. If you've got a third one that's right, put a question mark by it, I'll see it. Number 5, Great Global Flood, broke the Earth up into its chunks. Number 6, what do proteins do in your body? Everything. They do all the jobs of the human body. They do everything. Number 7, amino acids. Amino. A-M-I-N-O. Acids. Sound it out. Okay, what do the amino acids and proteins do? So, all the things they do, all of their just rights. Just the right number, just the right location, just the right, they do just the right job. They've got just the right fold in just the right place, and that's it. Those are the major ones. All the just rights. Put a question mark by it if you need to. All right, Great Global Flood evidences. Here they are. Sedimentary rock, fossils, caves, rapid continental drift, coal, oil in the crust, caves in the crust, mid-ocean ridge, mountains that have been raised up by the Great Global Flood, rapid continental drift, canyons, Grand Canyon. There's a dozen right there. You just needed 2. Number 12, earth, quake. A quake is a shake. Shake. Quake means shake or vibrate. A synonym for that, put a question mark by it if you think it's right. Number right over 12, tentative score. Don't even think about, and Mr. Phillips helping with this, don't even think about turning it in unless in the upper right-hand corner you've got name, date, and period. Put it down right now if you don't have it, name, date, period, upper right-hand corner. Go Tappy package, gifts, opportunities, talents, abilities, physical appearance, purpose, personality, made in God's image. You need at least 6 of those to get a bonus point. So if you think you had 6 out of 8 or more, put +1 at the top. I'll go over it. Don't change your score. That's my job. Don't change your score. Okay, here's your homework. So pass that in, and here's your homework in your lesson planner. Read, highlight if you're a highlighter, pages 89, 90, and 91. This will be in RenWeb, 89, 90, and 91. And then on your own sheet of white paper, write down the name, the explanation for the 3 kinds of tectonic plate movements. There's 3 kinds. The correct name, explanation, and a little diagram. Don't spend a lot of time on the diagram. Don't spend more than 5 minutes. No more than, I'm going to say 2 minutes each on the diagrams, or 3 minutes. Mr. C, I'm an artist. I want to spend a little more time. All right, whatever. So go for it. So, will you give me a little extra credit if I do a really, really good job on the plates? Maybe. So, but I mainly want the name, the explanation for how plates move, and then the diagram. Show arrows on the diagram. Okay? So again, that's pages 89, 90, and 91. Mr. Phillip can clarify any of that. Pages 89, 90, 91. He might even put it up on the board. 3 kinds of plate movement, the name, explanation, diagrams with arrows showing how the movement goes. Don't you be believing Charles Lyell when he wrote about the earth is really old, and he convinced Charles Darwin. So, and he's tricked a lot of people. He's just being used. So Charles Lyell doesn't believe that anymore. He died in 1875, was it? So I think so. So anyway, Mr. Phillip, take it away, and I'll see you on Happy Aloha Friday.